Hey folks, glad to have you here. Wasn't on last week because we was on a trip, and when I got back, I was hadn't listened to much news. Although when I was returning back to Miami from West Palm Beach, I noticed that the grocery store shelves were empty of water, and there were slight lines at the gas stations because a lot of people, folks, even though we were barely in the cone of Hurricane Ian at the time, a lot of people moved down to the free country, state of Florida to escape liberal tyranny from leftist states. And they see a storm coming, they think, oh, we better prepare because they're just not used to it. And truth be told, if Hurricane Ian would have come straight up and hit Miami, it probably would have been a Cat 2, 3 at the most. Wouldn't have been much in the way of storm surge just because of the way we are set up down here. So, that being said, and I knew right away, folks, first off, the left all year has been saying this is going to be the worst hurricane season ever. In fact, folks, I don't know if you've ever actually taken note of this, but I really hate to make comparisons, but Rick Knabb, the Hurricane Center guy from the Weather Channel, I've noticed looks a little bit like that lab coat tyrant Fauci, if you look at him. And he's been saying, well, climate change, well, climate change, there's going to be a really bad season this year for hurricanes. You got to get your supplies. This is all climate change. Whereas the rest of the meteorologists started saying later on, well, we have all this Saharan dust, which impedes the formation of storms coming off of Africa. So maybe we were wrong. And now let's look at it here. This is, in fact, it's September 30th. We're on our eye storm. However, it was also the first year we only had a couple, the best we've had for a long time. Now, it's also the latest in recent time that a storm has hit the United States. This is the first storm to hit the United States, remember. And sure, it was a whopper. It only takes one. But of course, it didn't take long for the left to politicize it now. By the way, cheers, it's Open Bar Friday. So, starting around the time where Crypt Keeper Joe, Brandon Biden, decided he was going to, well, I called 3 mayors in Florida. Who else? I don't think I need to call anybody else. Well, the governor would have been helpful, but he doesn't need your help, Joe. First off, the president has nothing to do with this. FEMA does. The president's just a figurehead that sticks his face in there to make it look like he's done something, but really, no. In fact, the former lieutenant governor, Carlos Lopez Cantero, was on with Brian Mudd yesterday. And
where's my apple juice?
And when asked, he said actually there was no difference in the amount of response we got during Obama or during Trump, because it's just not the president who does it. And therefore, Biden can say he did a lot for Florida and DeSantis did nothing. But the truth of the matter is it's on the governor to hound FEMA to get it all done. Now, once I said politicize it, the left will do all they can to politicize it. Yes, I'm chugging that apple juice as a chaser. Joyless Bayhar, I swear, the 2 dumbest people in media are both named Joy. Joy Reid, Joy Behar. I don't know who's worse on any given day, but they're both pretty bad. Joyless Bayhar says, well, he says he's not in the church of climate change and religion. Well, look at you now, DeSantis. You got a major hurricane headed right for your state. First off, Miss Bayhar, hurricanes have been hitting Florida since before you were born. Now, I understand that's like 200 years ago. But it's been happening since Florida's existed. Where we are, you're going to get hurricanes. You stick out, okay? And as I've said, we've been keeping records of hurricanes, named storms, hurricanes, since I think it's 1850, something like that, somewhere around there, maybe a little later. And on record, I believe there's 38, less than 40 named storms have hit the state of Florida, which averages about major ones anyway, major hurricanes over category 3. And that's 100 and some odd years time period, which averages one every 4 and so years. That trend has not changed, folks. We had Michael was the last major one that hit Florida. I believe that was 2018. And then before that, I guess you could say Irma, not so much because it just kind of went over the Keys. But the trend has been pretty solid, so to speak. And the left wants to make it seem like it's all climate change. Really? Last major hurricane to directly hit Miami was Andrew in 1992. That is 30 years ago. Actually, over 30 years ago, because Andrew was August 24th. It's now September 30th. It's 1 month past 30 years. And hopefully it stays that way. Although the difference between Miami and other places is that if a storm on the West Coast, the storm surge is different, I guess, because of the way things work. I'm not a meteorologist, but Hurricane Andrew hit Miami. You didn't hear much about storm surge. It was, straight on 160 mile an hour winds going through the area that destroyed everything. It made it look like a bomb went off. Of course, you look at this damage in Fort Myers. Same general idea, but that was the storm surge, folks. And the Democrats are probably going to go out there, well, the sea level rose, and it was horrible, and it's climate change. Well, actually, the sea level shrank in Tampa Bay. Oh, but that's just part of the storm, is what they're going to say. They're just politicizing it. And as Clay and Buck said, I guarantee you on Monday, they're going to be all about, well, it's all DeSantis' fault. Somehow it's DeSantis' fault that Florida got hit with a hurricane. It's DeSantis' fault this, DeSantis' fault that, because there's an election coming. And on the Weather Channel, folks, in the state of Florida, they were playing Charlie Crist ads left and right, because, of course, he's been funded by the American Federation of Teachers. He has more money than God. And the American Federation of Teachers hates DeSantis because he made them go back to work, folks. And there's the commercials where he's like, are you fed up every time you fill up? Well, you can blame DeSantis for not suspending the gas tax. Are you ticked off every time you buy groceries? Well, you could blame DeSantis and this, that, and the other thing. And I'm like, okay, first off, obviously, Charlie, the spray on orange has clearly gone to his head. Because if any of you haven't checked, he's more orange than Donald Trump. I don't care how you put it. And even when he was running for governor as a Republican back in, 2008? Was it 8? No, 6. Yes, 2006. When Jebra Bush left. Democrats were saying orange man bad. Charlie Crist, orange man bad. And believe me, he only won because his Democratic opponent was what we call a cuck, which is an effeminate man with no control in his life. I can't remember what is this. Wasn't Bill McBride? I don't remember who it was. Bill McBride ran against Jebra in 2002. I can't remember who Chris' opponent was, to be honest with you. Anyhow, doesn't really matter. He ain't going to win this time anyway. But DeSantis didn't suspend the gas tax. Well, you see, DeSantis is smart. He put in an act to suspend the gas tax for 6 months 6 months ago because he knew what the Biden administration was going to do. They were going to release a strategic oil reserve, which puts us at a huge danger in the event that there is a war, because then we're going to be like, okay, I guess we're at war with Iran, and Can we get some gas? Because we don't have any gas because we released it all because we wanted to be clean, even though we're buying oil from people who produce it in a way dirtier way. Because remember, the Democrats always believe 2 + 2 = 5. So DeSantis knew that Brandon was going to do this. So he figured, wait. He can only do it for so long. Gas prices have been down for about 4 months. Now they're starting to go up. The gas tax suspension takes effect tomorrow, October 1st, for 6 months. And that reduces, I think the state gas tax is like 23, 26 cents a gallon. So it's going to keep our gas low because you can only suspend it for 6 months. So he did it at the right time, right as the election's coming up. But the Democrats, blame DeSantis for everything because DeSantis has become a bigger threat to them than Donald Trump. Because Trump is old. Something could happen any day. He's in pretty good shape, but he's still old. DeSantis is a spring chicken and he's in very good health. So if something happens to Trump, DeSantis is definitely going to run. And if they try and bring that sleepy old bag out of the basement again, which they'll have a hard time doing unless they create another pandemic, monkeypox, then, yeah, DeSantis will have the floor with him. Even better if DeSantis runs against Newsom. That would be quite interesting, wouldn't it? Because that's, I don't think the Democrats really have anybody. Everybody's over the hill. Newsom's even up there in age, but DeSantis could easily, rein him in, and then he can play let's bring Kimberly Guilfoyle out here. Hey, who did it better, Don Jr. or Newsom? Because I was unbeknownst to me that Kimberly Guilfoyle was actually with Gavin Newsom for a number of time. I think they might have actually been married. I'm not sure. Equally funny if Donald Trump went up against Newsom. By the way, Kimberly Guilfoyle, who's bigger, his hair gel or my son's Trump Tower? Huge. Anyhow, so that being said, they tried to politicize it, and so they're always going to try and do. Every time there is a storm, they're going to blame climate change, and if it hits a conservative state, they're going to blame the governor, although there ain't a conservative governor in this country that has the balls that DeSantis does. Not one. And if you can name one, well, Greg Abbott, yes. And then Bayhar said, hold on, at least there's something else here. They're up. Bayhar said, according to NPR, Florida's climate changes are among the biggest in the country. Hurricanes intensified by climate change, rising sea level, extreme heat and drought. And this is the worst one. Health threats from mosquito-borne diseases. This is the quote from DeSantis about climate change. I am not in the pews of the global warming leftists. And that's when she was like, oh, yeah, but you got a hurricane going towards your house. So, but the health threats from mosquito-borne diseases. Bayhar, we have the Everglades. Maybe you've heard of it. That's where you're going to have mosquitoes. The Everglades have been drier than they ever have before. But you're talking about global warming, rising everything, this and the other. Does she have an idea? I bet she couldn't spend 5 seconds in the damn Everglades. Oh my God, the mosquitoes, they're going to carry me away. They're going to give me all these kind of diseases, maybe even dementia. Maybe you already have it. So, I mean, seriously, now I didn't see that before. Biggest threat is health from mosquito-borne diseases. Well, maybe if property owners would also get off their ass and dump their plant dishes and everything, or put larvicide in their water gardens, which is very cheap and readily available. You can probably even get it for free from your local government offices. We wouldn't have this problem. But it's the Democrats that don't get off their asses and deal with the mosquito-borne diseases, not the conservatives. So that just goes to show you how stupid she is, but we already knew all about this. Now, on to the next thing. So, it was yesterday, 2 days ago, and Joe Biden was at some kind of an event for, what's I'm going to pull it up here. Up. I don't have it here in my formerly nicotine-stained fingers. Let's see. Oh, let's see. Which one do we want? Okay. So, this is from the New York Post. President Biden asked for the late Representative Jackie Walorski to identify herself at a Washington event Wednesday, forgetting that the Indiana Republican died in a car crash last month. Joe Biden made the embarrassing error while thanking bipartisan members of Congress at the nutrition event near the White House. It's something about nutrition, hunger, health, this, that, and the other thing, which Walorski had put a lot of interest in. She was beloved by both Republicans and Democrats. And he goes, let me get my Biden voice here. I want to thank all of you here, including bipartisan elected officials like Representative Jim, Senator Mike, Senator Cory, referring to Cory Booker. He's crazy. If he runs, that'll scare me. And Representative Jackie, are you here? Where's Jackie? I think she was going to be here. Actually, I think the New York Post may have made a little fake news on that. I thought it said it didn't think she was going to be there, but if he actually did say that, that's pretty scary. The article goes on to say that, well, of course, as we all know, Biden is at 79, the oldest ever president. His mental acuity is regularly questioned by his foes. Though Biden and his handlers, I'm going to say handlers, not defenders, have brushed off the concerns by saying Commander-in-Chief simply prone to gas. You know, like, well, back in 2008, yeah, he's just, clean, nice-looking guy. Now, you can't go into a Dunkin' Donuts or a 7-Eleven without a slight Indian accent. I'm being serious. This is a guy that said all that, but see, then his words weren't bumbles and fumbles. I mean, I think the only person worse than Joe Biden right now, mentally and mental capacity, is John Fetterman in Pennsylvania. And I have no idea how that guy is ahead in the polls. I mean, hello, my name is John Fetterman. I am here. And I'm like, this guy sounds like a robot with half of its chips malfunctioning. And of course, you know, they're not allowing him to debate Oz, but and they're keeping him in the basement. Nobody, God forbid, the left-wing media lets out that Fetterman chased down in his truck an African-American jogger who was just out for a morning jog and stuck a 12-gauge in his face. Yes, he stuck a 12-gauge shotgun in some harmless black guy's face, but good Lord Almighty, you will never hear that from the left-wing media. Never, ever, 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 ever. They just want the most radical people they can. They want that majority. They want to pack the court. They want to end the filibuster, yada, 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 yada. So that scares me that he's potentially in the lead. But anyhow, clean up on aisle Biden. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre said that the regular briefing Wednesday that Walorski was top of mind for Biden because he was just preparing to host her family on Friday. You're preparing to host the family of a dead woman who didn't die in the past 5 years, you know, and this is recently fresh. Oh, yeah, it is top of mind. She's dead, and you're hosting her family at the White House. And you're aware of it, and then where is she? Where is she? I mean, obviously he's been briefed that he's going to be hosting this family of this dead congresswoman, and he's asking where the hell she is. She's dead, Joe. Come on, man. You a Johnny? Because he never actually got the K out. If you listen to that, come on, man, are you a junkie? It sounds more like he says, you a Johnny? Because he couldn't. He was slurring his words so much. I mean, maybe if he's a serious Irish and he's a serious drunk, we can give him some credit. But I don't think that's the case. Although I did know a person who did Marine Secret Service duty and went on 13 trips with the Crypt Keeper back when he was vice president for Barack Hussein. Oh, and said he was a hell of a lot more fun to be around than Obama, and he liked to party. Apparently, he also used to like to walk to the pool in the nude. And, well, I'm not going into further detail about that. Nor will I mention any names or anything else because actually, I do know what the guy's name is, but I'm not. We don't mention names on here, folks. So that's bad enough that Biden pulled all that crap. He didn't pull anything. He was just being stupid. But what's even worse, I'll tell you, it is even worse. Hold on a second, because grab a drink. You're going to need one after this if you all already know about it, which you probably do if you're watching this program. What's even worse is that Cackling Commie Harris visited the DMZ between South and North Korea earlier this week. Great. Hold on. I'm going to have to pull it up. I'm sorry. Sorry, folks. I do not have it pulled up. Let's see. Kamala Harris. You know, should have had all this together, but I do have a liberal family friend coming over soon, so I'm trying to do this show as fast as possible. Didn't have any time for show prep. There we go. Another one from the New York Post. Headline: Harris hails U.S. alliance with North Korea and latest branded administration bodge. Yes. Vice President Kamala Harris made an unforced error of global proportions Thursday by touting the strong alliance between the United States and the Republic of North Korea. The United States shares a very important relationship, which is an alliance with the Republic of North Korea, and is an alliance that is strong and enduring. Yes. So within the same 24 hours, you have Joe Biden asking for a dead person and the vice president of the United States saying we have a strong alliance with North Korea. You can't make this crap up, folks. And meanwhile, Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping are like, which half do you want? I don't know. Oh, California real close, but they have earthquake. I'll tell you what, Governor DeSantis, we need to build a big wall. Yeah. Because they ain't taking us. I mean, he ain't going to be president of the United States. If this keeps going on, DeSantis is going to be president of Florida. Because Rush Limbaugh said shortly before he died, this is trending toward secession. And the liberals in Congress, you have had not even 2 full years of one-party rule. And it is a disaster. The Dow had gotten as high as, 34,000, maybe even higher. It is now below 29. It hasn't been that low in forever. Global currency problems, all because of Joe Biden. And the liberals are going to blame the Russians. They're going to blame the Russians for everything. But they have nothing to do with it. Now, the fact that we keep giving Ukraine money, which I'm saying, I always said we need to stay the hell out of this. That's just going to piss the Russians off more. Now, if Trump was president, it never would have happened. But we're having such an issue in this country, folks, and it's shit's going to hit the fan unless you out and vote in November. Just, I don't care. Vote for whatever Republican you can. Because if you don't, we're screwed. And you know what? Being that I live in Miami, I know a lot of Cubans. The Democrats are trying to turn this country into worse than Cuba. Mark my words on that. They say they're for democracy. Well, do I ever point out that they love immigrants? They love immigrants. But they deport the hell out of the Cubans. Why? Because the Cubans will never vote for them. The only Cubans that vote Democrat are stupid millennial ones that did too many drugs in high school and got brainwashed by too many liberal teachers. That is why the teachers hate DeSantis, because he's taken the gay out of everything. He's not taking the gay out of everything, but you got school districts around the country where kids are getting taken on field trips to drag queen shows. I'm sorry. A kid can't go into a bar until he's 18. Just a regular dive bar. But it's okay to take 5-year-olds to see men in thongs or crotchless panties. I see a problem with that. And if you don't, you're fucked in the head. And it's become too much in your face. This is why, and you don't hear about it, but in, very black neighborhoods in Georgia, there's black people beating the hell out of gays over monkeypox because they're saying it came from Africa. And I don't even think it's just that. I think they're using it as an excuse. A lot of cultures don't like to see that. Whatever people do behind closed doors is fine with me, but get it out of my damn face. I don't want to have to guess what something is. Not that I really care. But it's just gross to me and to probably 75, at least 85% of actual Americans. You have the young, stupid crowd that embrace it, but some of them are probably just posing. They're just messed in the head. Of course, then again, you do have Democrats that believe men can get pregnant. I'm pretty sure that's a very small portion, and other ones, they just want their constituents to vote for them, so they're not going to say no. But let's be real, folks. This is the world we are living in, and we have to change it. And if we show up in such great numbers at the ballot boxes, even the ones that use Dominion software, another statement, another story, that fully electronic voting. In that case, well, I'm not going to say stay home, but you probably may as well, because if they want a Dem to win, the Dem's going to win. That's just the way it works. That software that's how, what's his face? Maduro and Chavez got in Venezuela with Dominion software, which is manufactured in Canada, and the Canadians don't even use their own voting software. That's how screwy it is. So anyhow, folks, if you can, donate to, I think it's fldisaster. Let me do it quicker on here. I think it's FL Hurricane. Okay, not Red Cross. I believe it's floridadisaster.org. Or something along those lines. Make sure it's to the state of Florida if you're going to donate to help the victims of Hurricane Ian, because the Red Cross might likely send it to Africa or some liberal state or liberal whatever. Don't let the liberals brainwash you, folks. That is all the time we have for tonight. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share. I am Ray Smiley. We'll be back with you next weekend. Cheers.